Many young people make mistakes, and some of their poor decisions affect their community, their neighborhood, their home, or their school. At teen court, a youth who has committed an offense has the case heard by a jury of peers and gets a chance to learn from the mistake.
All rise. Reach for Youth Teen Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Warner presiding.
You may be seated.
Teen Court is a diversion program offered by the juvenile justice system, and it is also available in schools as a disciplinary intervention. Teen Court in schools deals with battery, theft, insubordination, and other school-related offenses.
Teen court is intervening in the lives of young people at a very early stage when young people are committing some of those first offenses and still have a lot of opportunity to begin to correct some behavior. And if they do that, then they can really become a productive part of society instead of going down the wrong road that so many young people go down.
We do need to have ways to address inappropriate behavior. There has to be consequences, but what we've learned is those consequences do not necessarily mean that it has to be taking a young person through the juvenile system.
Kids who get into trouble end up pushed out of the school or expelled, suspended. It's almost as if they're cut off. So teen court, though, would provide a different alternative.
The in-school suspension, the out-of-school suspension, in detentions, we're not working. We weren't seeing the results that we needed to see. We weren't seeing any kind of a change in behaviors.
I've been in courtrooms with kids for a long time, and I can honestly say nothing good happens to a child in the courtroom.
The state of Indiana ranks 3rd in expulsions and 12th in suspensions. Wherever we can help be a solution to keep young people in school and achieving, as opposed to expelled or suspended, we want to be a part of that positive change.
Part of the beauty of teen court is it truly is a jury of your peers. And if you've got a young person in front of an adult court, it's not a jury that understands where that young person is coming from.
Children don't think parents have any sense.
They actually care what their peers think a little more than perhaps maybe a juvenile court judge or their parent or a teacher. These are typically high school age kids. They want to fit in.
People just your own age, you can just relate to them more. You know what they're going through.
Will the bailiff please call the first case?
The state of Indiana versus Trevor Jones.
When kids are judged by their peers, I think there's a different level of accountability that they hold themselves to. Especially with it being in the school, it's just more in their face. And since they'll have to see these students every single day, I think that might encourage them to do a little bit better.
The engine of teen court is fueled by volunteers, young people who hear the facts of the case and decide on consequences, and committed adults who guide the process.
So at this time, we're going to swear in the jury. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, would you please stand? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will listen carefully to all the evidence and arguments presented by both sides in this case and every case on...
If you volunteer here, you'll be around people your age and probably people who have the same problems as you, if you do have any problems, and you get to talk about them.
The children need to know there's some place they can go where it doesn't matter whether you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're white, or whatever.
I was a jury member, which is basically you sit in on the case and you act as a regular jury does. You listen to all the information that's given, attorneys ask them questions and they give answers, and you kind of collect it so you can give them appropriate consequences.
Each member of the jury is now instructed to give his or her full attention to this case. Remember that you're not here to determine guilt or innocence. Your sole duty is to determine what consequences are fair and appropriate for the defendant's illegal conduct. The defendant committed the following act: resisting law enforcement by fleeing, which is a Class A misdemeanor. On or about the
jury members are trained in the basics of courtroom procedures and expectations. After gaining experience as jury members, interested volunteers are then eligible to take their teen court experience to the next level and train to become peer attorneys.
So at this time, we'll ask if the defense would like to call its first witness.
I'd like to call Trevor Jones to the stand, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, please approach the stand. Please raise your right hand.
Being an attorney, you actually get to be there for the defendant, like it's either prosecutor or defense attorney, so most likely I'll be the defense attorney.
Defense, you want to be more the person's friend. You want to make sure they appear in the best light. You want to make sure that not only the facts get across, but also the human side of it, that they're sorry or they won't do this again, that kind of thing.
Have you received any consequences at home or at school for your actions?
While prosecution, it's more the facts, just straight facts, and, you know, hard-nosed, and you want to get the sympathies out of it, because that won't help your case.
Did I hear correctly that you've been in trouble at school before?
Yes, ma'am.
But nothing to this extent from the past incident?
No, ma'am.
During the court session, jury members are also encouraged to ask questions of the offender.
Does the jury have any questions they'd like to ask the defendant? Yes, sir.
You said you're sorry. How are you going to prove it to your family?
Well, you know, I've complied with all of their punishments that they've given to me with no arguments.
Questions are really important, and, you know, there could be something that the defense or the defense attorney or the prosecutor missed, so you always have to speak your mind.
Kids aren't afraid to challenge, you know, somebody who's been doing something wrong about why did you do this? Or what were you thinking? Or what do you think your punishment should be?
Yes, sir. Here in front.
Have you committed anything like this in the past? No, sir. Nothing like this. This is the first.
But I was also, you know, kind of amazed how kids were also not reluctant to show mercy when they thought it was the appropriate thing to do. And, you know, I often felt that a lot of adults could learn from these kids by watching that process.
When you give final statements, you have to think in new ways. How are you going to get that information across? How are you going to make sure they know for sure about this person? So you have to think in different ways, like outside the box.
So at this time, we'll ask defense prosecution to present their closing arguments. Would the defense like to make its closing statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for coming tonight. Trevor is very remorseful, and he understands what he did, and he understands that it was wrong. He's trying to do better, but it is our duty to help him achieve his goals. I would recommend counseling for his anger management, tutoring to get his grades up, and also a verbal apology to his father in court. And that is all.
Thank you. Prosecution.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you so much for your time. So it's been established that Trevor's a good kid. He made a mistake, but it was really a one-time thing. However, he needs to learn that there are consequences for his actions. So I recommend that
we do take it very seriously, and that's the way it's run. And by doing that, then the students as well realize that, you know, we're not kidding. This is a serious situation.
We, the 10-court jury, recommend that the defendant receive the following constructive consequences. So, how many hours of community service do you think he should have between 8 and 40?
I don't think that should be added a whole lot, yeah. Either 8 or nothing. I don't think that.
So how many hours?
10.
10.
Yeah, they recommend 15, so 10.
Right.
Serve as a jury member on 1 to 3 future court nights?
3.
Yeah, please.
3.
You can see how that affects them, how that's going to make them view things differently. Like, do I really want to be back here again in a real court? Because it's already scary here. I don't want to be in a real court.
They might have done something small. They still deserve a second chance to rehabilitate themselves and make themselves better.
Adult volunteers mentor the youth volunteers and guide the court proceedings.
I love being a judge. I mean, you know, there's days I'm exhausted after a long day at work. I come here, I'm re-energized. These kids have so much energy. They're excited to be here, to see them play their roles as attorney, and for you to coach them through it, give them feedback at the end.
I do it because someone helped me. The folks who mentored me and took time out to develop me and teach me things my parents couldn't necessarily teach me, is very meaningful to me. It has changed my life.
Just seeing someone else, that happened to someone, just a simple mistake, what it can do to them just makes me, you know, think about what I do before I do it.
it just has driven me to do better in my life. If I'm like, you know, hey, you know, there's a bunch of kids trying to do the right thing, you know, I can do the right thing as well.
It's both the interaction with their peers, it's the interaction with caring adults, it's that opportunity to show as a young person that you can do some really positive things.
Much of what happens in the schools, batteries, fights, bullying, things of that nature, those are the types of offenses that kids do. It can be real difficult when you start to criminalize that behavior, because then you're taking that kid out of the school system and putting him into the court system.
The likelihood they're going to be involved in criminal activity when they're not in school is much higher.
The grades come up, and why do the grades come up? They're feeling more confident in themselves, and they know that in order to continue on in education and to be able to provide for themselves, that they need to have those grades.
If you take a kid and you put them in a courtroom, it's something about that experience that transforms them. Now this kid who initially was shy becomes a lot more vocal because someone is asking their opinion in the jury room.
It's a great learning opportunity. It introduces them to the legal system and its process. It puts them in a scenario where they see what other youth have done and how to help provide them with an alternative.
Teen court makes a difference. Teens volunteer their time and apply the principles of the law to decide the consequences a young offender must face to pay back the community for his or her offense.
Just knowing that perhaps this could be the most important point in their life, that could completely change it. Like, if they don't come here, perhaps they'll be off doing the same thing again, and it could lead them into a bad place. They could end up in jail or something like that.
The defendant is hereby sentenced to perform the following. Restitution to be paid to the parents in the form of work detail at the home for 10 hours, serve as a jury member on 3 future court nights, academic tutoring, counseling, anger management evaluation, and a verbal apology to father. Mr. Jones, since you've been sentenced to a verbal apology to your father, you will have to deliver that apology here in court tonight.
Dad, I want you to know that I'm sorry. From the very bottom of my heart, I apologize to you because
maybe I have a chance to change the whole person's life. So if I'm not here, maybe that won't happen. I don't know.
It felt like home, really. It's like basically the beginning of my future.
I've seen kids go from, you know, I don't know if they're gonna make it out of high school to I may be working for them one day.
It's just a wonderful experience. I'm glad I'm a part of this. I think it's really making a difference. I can see it's making a difference every week, and I'm glad to keep on coming back.
Volunteering as a judge with teen court helps me see that these are kids with strong futures. They are our future, and I think that our community is going to benefit from that.
Just knowing that I'm having a positive impact makes, you know, just a great thing.
It makes me happy because I can help people and help them with their life and help them be a better person and overcome what they have done.
Being able to address that conduct quickly, address why they did it, and then have a consequence for it quickly is much more effective and efficient way of dealing with kids and the offenses that they might commit in the school. Teen court being a part of that would be, you can do it quicker, you can do it faster, you can do it cheaper.
It helps to build a stronger community, a more vibrant community, a place where people feel safe, comfortable.
Teen Court is about giving youth a second chance. For more information about Teen Court and how you can get involved, visit yourteencourt.org.